Court is back in session in cause number 332792. Prior to the court closing the portion of proceedings of this hearing, Mr. Branham was sworn in, and his attorney, Mr. Giles Cole, waived the record in this case. And Mr. Branham, I have before me a document that is titled Information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about May 28 of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of resisting arrest, search, transportation. Mr. Branham, to this charge, well, first, Mr. Branham, do you understand what you've been charged with?
For the most part, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, now to this charge, how do you plead?
Guilty.
Okay, you pleading guilty. Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir. I have. When I get around law enforcement.
Mr. Branham, if you need to make any additional comments, first of all, I can allow you to talk to your attorney in private, and whatever you need to say, you can discuss that with your attorney, and then your attorney will let you know whether or not you should make any statements in that. So
yes, sir.
Do you need to talk to your attorney?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Branham, I have before me State's Exhibit. Well, I have again before me the information which was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. This information alleges that on or about May 28 of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of resisting arrest, search, transportation. Do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to this charge, Mr. Branham, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Guilty.
Now, are you pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Branham, I also have before me a document that is titled State's Exhibit Number 1. Well, it's titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment and is labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. State's Exhibit Number 1, on page 2 of this document, there are a set of initials, TB, that are on a line next to a box that's checked guilty. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there is a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Mr. Branham, did you also sign this document?
Yes, sir.
On the next page, on the next document rather, that is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, there's also a signature at the bottom of this document above the line that is titled Defendant. Did you also sign this document?
Yes, sir.
At the top of this same document, there are 2 boxes that are checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Branham, did you also sign a document out there on paper that is titled Discovery Certification?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Branham, before you signed and initialed all of these documents that I have just mentioned to you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
To the best of my knowledge.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Branham, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. State, you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1?
Yes, Your Honor. State offers State 1.
Any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
No objections. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Cole, you advised in counsel, Mr. Branham, is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
And Mr. Johnson? Well, no, Mr. Branham, your attorney has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Branham, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will take judicial notice of the assessment that is in the file. I will also find that you are mentally competent to stand trial in this case. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond any reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
Your Honor, in exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty in this case, the state is recommending confinement in Jefferson County Jail for a period of 50 days. The state is asking that the court give defendant credit for the 50 days previously spent in jail, making this a time served plea agreement, Your Honor. As for the court costs, the state is asking that the court use the time served to both tax and retire the court costs.
Mr. Branham, the state is offering that you serve 50 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you have already served 50 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you will be given credit for time served. The court cost in this case, Mr. Branham, is $327, but you will not have to pay the $327 because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court costs will be taxed and retired. Mr. Branham, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Branham, I will follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Branham, this will conclude your case. If you do not have anything else holding you in jail, you should be getting out of jail today. Mr. Branham, please follow the bailiff and you have a blessed day.
Thank you. You too, sir. Thank you, sir. You have a blessed day.
And
All right, Your Honor. Am I excused?
yes, Mr. Cole, this is your final case. You have completed and you have a blessed day.
You do the same, Your Honor. All right.